Hey everybody, welcome to the Kirk Cameron Show. It's Wednesday. This is our midweek madness, dangerous conversation. Hey James, I like to think of this as sort of like a verbal speakeasy, where you come to the Kirk Cameron Show and there's a little door in the back you open up and you enter into a safe space for a dangerous conversation.
It kind of looks like one with this trout glass.
That's right.
I think coffee. I promise you it's coffee.
We read in the comments, someone's like, that's not coffee. It is.
Strong black coffee.
That's right. You like the cold brew.
I do.
Which has a unique flavor to it.
It takes the nasty bite out of it.
Out of the
black
bitter
coffee.
Yeah.
And it's kind of dangerous though, because you can be very caffeinated throughout the day. I've gone through like an entire bottle in one day.
Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about today?
So I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and we were just talking about high school and what that was like, and kind of it morphed into what did we learn in high school, and are we using the things that we learned in high school today? And I look back at high school, and there was 4 topics that I took throughout the 4 years of me being in high school. It's history, it's English, it's math, and it's science.
Yeah, basically.
And I took Spanish also. You've heard me try to speak Spanish, don't know much of it at all. I'm learning, I'm trying to learn. But math, I can't remember how to do 90% of the geometry problems that I was given during tests in high school.
Yeah.
With English, I cannot quote a single line from Odysseus that I read.
But for the test, you could get the answers right.
For the test, I could get them, but
I get
retaining
it.
that knowledge and how useful was that knowledge in the long term?
Yeah.
So during this conversation and after the conversation, I started to research why are we being taught the things we are being taught in school, and where was the educational system set up, and why was it set up? And I wanted to show you some things. So in 1902, the General Education Board was founded by a guy named John D. Rockefeller. And I just want to read a quote to you from John D. Rockefeller. He says, "I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers." Really interesting. So what he's saying is that he's not really looking for creatives. He doesn't really want that, but he wants people to be workers.
And this is a guy that set up what organization?
The General Education Board.
Okay.
In 1902. And if you think about what school is, you all have to wear a uniform when you walk into the school. A lot like a factory,
or at least some sort of a dress code.
Dress code. You have school during normal work hours, so you're getting used to going to work. You need to be in class when the bell rings at 8 o'clock or whatever it is, and you get to leave when the bell rings again, just like the bell that goes off in a factory.
And now that I'm thinking about this, is that it reminds me of a factory. It also reminds me of soldiers.
Yeah.
You know, you come in, you've got a uniform, and you're lined up in rank and file. You know, you've got students sitting in their chairs, all lined up in rows, and essentially you're all doing the same drills and the same practices over and over and over and over.
Yeah. The things that aren't being taught in school are things like how to manage your money, how to pay your taxes, how to apply for a job, how to change a tire, how to do all of these different things that I have noticed that I've had to learn on my own outside of the education system.
Right.
And I've had to just educate myself through conversations that I've had with others, through experiences or internships or
personal relationships,
with
family, friends outside of school.
Yeah, or just like a long process of trying to figure out who I am, what I believe, why I believe it. And those things take up 90% of my days. And then the aspect of me doing small math or having to think about a science problem take a smallest percentage. And I find myself not even using what I've learned in high school. So instead of high school being a place where we're taught English, math, science, and history, which I think are good, like general education, like in middle school, I think those are very important. But what if high school, the 4 years, instead of forcing kids to dive into topics that they don't necessarily like and treating everybody like they're the exact same person, like a robot, and inputting the exact same code into different robots, why don't we have that time be a place where they can explore what they're passionate about, why they're passionate about it, also get to explore who they are and how to deal with their emotions and their mind and their relationships with other people around them. And then the schools facilitating what they're passionate about and showing them a career path forward so they can pursue what they are passionate about, but also what God has made them to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're just talking about good education versus institutionalized, regimented, cookie cutter, factory style education.
Yeah. Let me show you. So this is a picture and a quote from Albert Einstein. And we'll put it up on the screen. It's a picture of a monkey, a penguin, a elephant, a fish, a seal, and a dog. And there's a guy sitting behind a desk, and he's saying, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. That's the exam that he's given.
Right. The fish is not going to do well on this exam.
No. And
or the elephant.
It's kind of implying people are different. I'm completely different than Jack. I'm completely different than you.
Yep.
My mind works a different way.
Great point.
And I have my own talents, just like a fish can swim and the monkey can't.
That's right. Designed for different purposes.
Exactly. And this is a quote from Albert Einstein. And he says, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid."
Yes.
That's what's happening, I believe, in our education system.
Yes.
Where the people who are super brainy and can remember problems short term just to forget it after the test are seen to be great. But the kid who is kind of quiet, not very good at tests, but is a super talented musician or a super good people person is seen as lesser.
That's right.
But why not see them both as having unique abilities that can do a lot of good and facilitating those unique abilities for both of them in different categories?
Einstein was a genius.
He was.
Literally. But I've heard that he struggled in school because he didn't think inside the box. Right?
Yeah.
But he was a genius, and he's saying everybody's a genius. It reminds me of a book written by Dr. Kathy Koch called 8 Great Smarts. And she says essentially the same thing. Everybody's a genius. Everybody's smart. We think of smart as being book smart, but some people are people smart. Some people are music smart. Some people are body smart, like athletes. They're amazingly talented, whereas maybe the bookworm is not so coordinated. Why do we make one smart more valuable than other smarts when we need everybody and all that they bring to the table? Yeah, great point. Love it. Totally agree. So does education prepare us for the real world? And you're saying...
Not really. I think that there's important things in the current education system, like history. I think a knowledge of history is super important so we don't make mistakes that we've made in the past.
Yeah,
we can learn from others.
Yeah, I think history is super important, and I never liked history when I was taking history classes in school, but as I've gotten older, I now love history. I love learning from the people who have been in these situations in the past and taking their advice.
Yeah, and learning to write, learning to read, learning to interpret things in English are also important. I've learned through myself, when I desire to know something rather than I'm being forced to know something, I tend to retain it and apply it to my life.
Yeah.
But if I'm reading a book, no shade against Odysseus, but I did not want to read that book at all. But I've read a book like Jordan Peterson's 12 Steps, 12 Rules for Life, or I've read To Kill a Mockingbird, or I've read Moby Dick.
So what do you do? What does the kid do who doesn't have a desire to learn anything? He just wants to chill and have his mom just make him some more Jell-O. How do you educate somebody like that? Should he not have to read books or learn math or any history?
I would say that everybody has things that they are passionate about. The goal is to help them figure out what they are passionate about.
Yep.
And then you won't have to force your child to do something. He'll want to do that out of his own free will. And he'll actually be asking you to do it with him.
Yeah, I love that.
Figuring that out, and if schools were a place where they could explore, like think of for instance, collaboration in a school. Collaboration during a test,
That's
what's
called
that called?
cheating.
It's called cheating.
Right, great
But
point.
in every business, the boss is like, hey guys, collaborate with the other team so we have the best outcome.
A song gets written with a jam session. It's a collab. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
They're all getting together and pooling their ideas, whether it's writing the lyrics or it's actually coming up with the melody.
Exactly. So I think that number one, figuring out what someone is passionate about, facilitating that for them is super important.
Yeah.
And then two, encouraging things like collaboration, like creativity, like going outside the box and not just following a specific path and specific rules, but kind of embracing them for their uniqueness and giving them a way to express that to the world, because that's going to be a great thing.
James, you've expanded my brain on this topic. I think that's really, really great. Just like that picture, that cartoon, education ought to be broad enough and liberal enough that people can begin to learn things according to how God designed them, their strengths. Clearly, they were designed for a purpose and not other purposes. Like the fish is not designed to climb a tree, right? But the monkey was.
Yeah.
And then the collaboration, huge point. What an important thing to collab. And actually, I think, as far as the kid, who just wants his mom to make him some more Jell-O and macaroni and cheese and play video games at home, maybe he's been so discouraged, like that fish who is judged for its ability or inability to climb a tree, thinks it's stupid. Maybe that kid has been told that he's stupid because he didn't get the grades on the tests that his parents wanted him to get, or the teacher wanted him to get. And now he thinks he's stupid, so he's been demotivated, and he just thinks like, I'm no good at anything. But if you actually poured into his strengths and let him collaborate with other people and find out who he is and his purpose, maybe he would have a love for learning that would trump everybody else's.
Yeah.
And then he would learn all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And I know that you come from a background that is very regimented. It's middle school, high school, college, job, work.
Yeah.
How has your opinion with our family, who we've all done different things, some have gone to college, some haven't gone to college, how has your opinion of schooling changed over the time?
Well, first I want to say I'm so grateful for teachers. Thank God for teachers. People who go into a profession where often are not paid much, underpaid, overworked, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, it's a thankless job. And they're trying to pass down important information, and sometimes kids struggle to understand it, and the kids are not being supported by families at home. And so I'm so grateful for teachers, and especially for good teachers in public schools, in private schools, and parents who are the teachers of their homeschooled kids. This is what we need. Education is the key. My understanding of education went from going to public school in middle school and in high school, and then the ideal is always you go off to college. That's just what you're expected to do. And my dad was a public school teacher, so was my grandmother and my grandfather. So education has always been important. But to your point, I began to see education differently when I saw how frustrated you and your siblings were getting in school. And it became more like factory work. It became like 9 to 5. It became more like a cookie cutter approach, a conveyor belt approach to memorizing dates and data for a test on Friday, only to forget about all of that so that you can memorize everything for the next test. That seems to work well for getting funding for your school based on test scores, but is it really turning out top shelf human beings who are developed and well-rounded? No. That's when we started looking into private schools and homeschooling, and we've found benefits to all of them.
Yeah, and some of the best people that I have run into have been teachers in public schools. And I think of Mr. Busta. I think of how much he wanted me to succeed and how he saw my different abilities and helped me to express those through history of all classes.
Great teacher.
And I think of our cousin Max. and how he is a special ed teacher and how he is able to connect with these students and embrace them for who they are.
That's right.
So I'm not saying anything against teachers, because I think teachers are great people. I think that the system itself does not produce the maximum benefit that it could be.
I totally agree with you. And there was a quote by a guy named Vodie Baucham who said, if we send our children to Caesar to be educated, we shouldn't be surprised if they come back Romans.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's essentially what we as parents are doing if we take something as important as education, knowing that 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day, plus hours of homework is going to shape their hearts and minds, and we subcontract that out to a state government, a federal government that by design has to sort of make everybody happy if it's public school because everybody's tax dollars are paying for it. And so you can't have your distinctive value set being taught to your kids like Christian values, like biblical values. You've kind of got to go with everybody or no values, which is impossible. You're going to go with some kind of value. And that's where God and biblical morality get thrown out the window. So if we really want our education to prepare our kids for life, I think that we have to shoulder that responsibility as parents and make sure that our kids are learning the way that we want them to. Not just complain about a system that others have put in place, but create our own systems, whether that's homeschooling, co-ops, private schools, or public schools, and make sure that those things are preparing our kids for the real world.
Yeah.
These are character qualities and skills that every young person should know. And I'm so fired up about my friend's organization called Red Truck Men, because while it's a gathering of fathers and husbands over breakfast to create honor among men, they're also bringing in the future men of our generation and teaching them what it means to be good, to be honest, to be true, to be respectful, and to be service-oriented and others-focused. It's called Red Truck Men, guys gathering around a breakfast of bacon, biscuits and gravy, great coffee, a campfire with the Word of God together with their sons and teaching them the skills that will actually prepare them for real life. It's called Red Truck Men. It's absolutely free. There's no subscription fees. There's no entrance fees. Just go to redtruckmen.org and find a breakfast near you, or start a breakfast, or just support them because they're truly preparing the next generation for the real world. Well, James, this was a really cool conversation. I'm really glad we had it.
Me too. Make sure to like and subscribe and click that notification bell so you're notified when the next episode comes out. And leave us a comment in the comment section below and we can read that on a future episode. Have a good one.